Right. Today's topic will be data types and variables. First, let's understand what is this data type and variables, and then we'll start writing the programs. Every data is actually classified. It can be a number, it can be a date, it can be text, or any objects. Why they are actually classified is when we're actually working on a program, then we have to use these data types or say data. While using this data types, so what will happen is it has to be stored in memory. When I'm storing in memory, the space is occupied. So if you're occupying the space, there'll be some you know it will be keep occupying, and you may lose the memory space. So for that, what they have done is they've classified the data such a way that the amount of space what we are saving should be utilized properly. So to do that, what they have done is they have classified the data into different data types. Say it can be a text, it can be numbers, it can be dates, or it can be objects. When I say numbers, again they are classified into different types. Why? Because, say for example, I'll take 3 cans wherein I need to store some water. So one can is 1 liter, second can is 5 liter, and the third can is 10 liter. So suppose if you want to store half a liter, so I'll be choosing 1 liter can because that is sufficient. Suppose if you want to store 3 liters, then again I'll go for the 5 liter can because I cannot store it in 1 liter. Next, suppose if you want to store a 6 liter, then I obviously go to 10 liter can because I cannot store that in 5 liter can. So in this example, we are trying to choose the appropriate can. Similarly, while saving this data in memory, we have to choose the proper space. Otherwise, the memory will be wasted and your program or the system might get slow. So how to work on these data types and variables? Now to understand this, that I'll explain. When I say I'm storing a number, then we have different types as I told you. If the value is from 0 to 255, then I'll be using something called as byte. If the value what I'm trying to store is 0 to 255, then it is byte. Say I want to store age of a person or something which is coming within 0 to 255, I'll be storing with a data type called as byte. If anything going beyond 255 up to 32,767, then I'll be using integer. Any number which is going beyond that, we should use long. So this is the data type name. And again, I told you that is actually used so that we can utilize the memory. Next is about the text. When I say text, the data type for text is string. Any string values, that is text values or alphabets or alphanumeric, can be stored in string. If you want to store date, then there is a data type called as date. And if you want to store something like yes or no or true or false, then we have a data type called as boolean. Apart from this, there are more other data types, that is object data types. They are chart or pivot table or workbook, worksheet. This will be learning in the coming sessions after few chapters. But today we'll learn about how to work on these data types so that the memory is utilized properly. So all these days we used to take the value directly from the say Excel sheet and then work. Now what we'll do is we'll take the value, put it into memory, and from there we'll try to write the program. So it is not that difficult, it is very simple, and this is the proper way of writing the program. So we'll see how to do that. Let me just open one new workbook and let me save this. Say Control S and say save. First let me save this. So we'll go to our folder and then in session 5. Right. Now what we'll do is we'll try to work on something like this. Say D5 100 and say 200. We'll write one simple program. Here in my workbook, right click, insert, command. Let me rename the sheets WKS data type. And here also we'll try to rename this. Then I'll insert one module. Then I'll rename that also mod underscore data. Right. Now I need to add these two numbers and get the result here. We have done this in our previous session. So we'll see how to add two numbers in a simple way. That is D5 plus D6. WKS data type dot range of D7 dot value equals D5 plus D6. When I run this, I'll get the result. Fine. Now let me do one more calculation. I'll say this divided by this. And again, it's this value divided by this total. If you want to do these calculations, I'll have to go here and let me copy this. I'll say F5, which is the address here, dot value equals D5 divided by D7. Say D5 divided by D7. Now let me copy this and I'll put it as F6. Now here I'll say D6 divided by D7. Now let me delete this and execute that program. See, I'm getting the result. But just observe this. When I'm doing this calculation, say when I want to execute this program, this value, that is D5 dot value, it is fetched. It will go to Excel, it will take the value and it will come here. Then again it will come here, say D6 dot value and it will come here. And do the calculation, and again it is putting the value here. Now again it is going to Excel sheet to fetch this D5, wherein it is already fetching this value. So what will happen is, if I'm using this multiple times, so for just taking the same value, it is going to Excel multiple times. In this case, it is going 2 times. D5 is going 2 times. And for D7, it is going 2 times. For D6, again, it is going 2 times. So instead of going multiple times, what I'll do is, only once I'll take the value and put it into memory. Taking the value from Excel sheet or taking the value from memory. So when I take the value from memory, it is much faster than taking the value from Excel sheet. So for that reason, what I should do is, I'll take this value and put it into memory. When I'm putting that into memory, there should be a process. If you want to fetch that value from memory, then there should be some location. So for that, what we'll do is, we'll use this something called as Datatypes and Variables, which will help me in storing the data in memory and fetching the data from that memory. So we'll see how we can convert this program, which we have done till now, whatever we have learned, into data types. Right. Same program. I'll try to show you guys how we can use data types. Say sub add to number. This time I'll say data type. Say dim. First, I should declare the variable. What is declaration? Declaration means I'm creating a space in the memory to store that value. When I'm saying I'm creating a space, that means to store a value, there should be some place. I gave an example of 3 cans. Now I'm actually trying to create a kind of can. That means a container. So when I'm creating a container, I cannot just like that take how much ever space I need. There should be some specific space so that I can utilize the memory. So what I'm trying to do, I'm saying dim, and the space I'm creating, for that space there should be a name. That name is called as variable. I will say num1 as, now I should give the data type name. The data type name, this time I'll give byte. So this byte will take what? Up to 0 to 255 values. Now I'm also taking this d6, will give one more variable. I'll say num2 as byte. This num1, what you see, is a variable, and byte is a data type. This data type actually specifies how much of space I should take in the memory, and this num1 is the variable name which will help me in fetching the data by giving the name of this. So the memory space name, whatever is there, that is this one, that is variable. Say dim total as byte. So I've declared 3 variables and I've given the name num1, num2 and total. Suppose if you want to fetch any values, then I have to give these names. Alright. Now this is the declaration statement. We have to put some values inside this so that I can do the calculations. Say num1 will be this d5 dot value in WKS data type dot range of d5 dot value. Next one, num2 is d6 dot value. Now I say num1 and num2. I have assigned the values for this. This is called as assignment statement. That means for these two variables, I'm assigning say d5 and d6 values. Now these num1 and num2, as I told you, it's a variable, it's a memory space. Now I can fetch these values any number of times within this program. I'm using this d5 here, d5 here. You use 100 times, no problem. But you're taking it from the memory, not from the Excel sheet. Now if I say, if I want to fetch this data from Excel sheet, every time if I use this d5, so every time I have to go to Excel and then fetch the value. But in this case, it's not like that. You go 100 times, you're just taking the value from memory. So that will be much faster. Otherwise, it has to go connect to Excel, fetch the value, and again come back to do the calculation. Now what I'll do, I'll say total equals num1 plus num2. That's it. See, this one. The d7 equals num1 plus num2. Here I'm saying d5 and d6. Here I've already taken this d5 and d6 into num1 and num2. And I'm putting that into total. Fine. Now, this total variable has got the value of num1 and num2. I have to put this total into this d7. I'll go here, I'll say WKS data type dot range of d7 dot value is equal to total. So now what will happen is this d7 dot value will take the value of total, that is this one. Now I need to calculate for f5. So for f5, just copy this and I'll put it here. Here let's change this to f5. So f5 is what? d5 divided by d7. So in this case, d5 is num1. So what I'll do, I'll say num1 divided by. So d7 is this total, I'll say total. See? Now I'm not going to Excel again. I'm just taking the value which is there in the memory. Now the next calculation is d6. Let me copy this. I'll say f6 equals num2 divided by total. See? Now if I run this, I'll get the same result. Run this. Sorry. It is too big number. I'll tell you why we got that error. Let me say F5. See, I got the result. Since I'm using this byte, as I told you, the byte will take the value from 0 to 255. If it is beyond that, then it will say overflow. We'll take the same program. We'll increase the data. See, I'll show you. Say 255, and here I'll say 789. Now, if I run this, see, I'll get that error. Overflow. So, overflow means these variables cannot hold values more than 255 because I mentioned it as byte. Now, let me go back. I will copy this program and I'll put it here. So here it says byte. Now what I'll do, I'll make it as integer. Let's change this to integer. Because right. Now let me run this. See, I'm getting the result here because these values are within 0 to 255 was there for byte. It is going beyond 255. Then I took this integer. This will go up to 32,767. Anything going beyond 32,767, then again this will show overflow. Now the same program here, I just changed the data type. That's it. So you have to decide how much of data is actually I'm trying to work. So if the data is going beyond 32,000, then I have to go and give it as long. Let me go here. I'll change this to 56,000 and say 89,000. Let me run this. See, it says overflow because it is integer and it is going beyond the value what an integer can store. So what I'll do, let me copy the same program and I'll put it here. I'll say long. Now let me change this data type to long and I'll run this. Okay. Now it is run. That means first you should understand how much of data I'm actually trying to work. So depending on your data capacity, I have to decide what data type I have to put it here. Otherwise, you'll end up with getting this errors. Now what people will do is they'll think, why not I take this long only so that I can store any values. I'll tell you what is the problem if you take a bigger space. I'll show you. See, let's say this is my memory. An example. I'm trying to store a value 100. Now I'm taking this long, so long will take this much of space. Let's say this much. Now to store this 100, why do I need such big space? My data, what I'm trying to store, will not go beyond 255. Let's say age. Age of a person can be maximum 100, say 125. Then why should I take long? So I have to decide what kind of data I'm actually taking and how much data I'll be storing in the memory. Now let me go here. See, let's say for a byte it will be this much. So to store this much of data, why should I waste so much of space? And if I take the data like this, say this much, and this much space, whatever is there left over, cannot be utilized by any other variables, or say this is just given to one of the variables here like this. If I say num1 for this much, that's all. I can store only values for num1. So to utilize this space, we have to think about what kind of data type I have to give. And data type is not that difficult to remember. Just go here, say byte. I'll be sending you one file wherein I have all the list of data types with their capacity. So you have to decide whether I should take a byte, integer, or long depending on your data size. Right, we saw this byte, integer, and long. That is for numbers. Now let's see how I can use string. String means text. Let me go here and I'll take one more variable. I'll say country. I'll say India. I want to take this value and here I need to get the result like this. India has done sales of say 145 triples. Right. That means whatever value I'm specifying D3, that should come here. Say the country has done sales of whatever total I'm getting here, that should come here. So how to do this? What I'll do, let me go here. I'll take the same value, assuming that my data will go beyond 32,767. I'm taking it as long. But now I'm trying to take the text as well. So here we'll use the string, and here I'll say div country as string. Now this country is this value. So this value has to be taken into this variable. So how to take that? Similarly, what I take for the numbers, here I'll say country equals double case data type dot range of, I'll say D3 dot value. See, now whatever value is there in D3, that will go to country. Now I need to give the result like this. The country name has done the sales of the total. Now I'll go here, I'll say this one, that is D9 WKS data type dot range of D9 dot value equals, that means this value. Now what I have to take? The variable I've taken it as country, and here the variable which is for total, that has to be mentioned here. I'll say country ampersand has done sales of, and I'll say ampersand. This and symbol ampersand, this will concatenate, combine. I've taken this country is nothing but this variable, this one, and now I need to take the total. I'll say ampersand total. Now let me delete all this. Let me run this. See, whatever value I'm getting here, say India has done sales of whatever total is there. Now let me go and change this. You will say, and let me change this value also. Now if I run this, so I should get this USA here, and whatever total I'm getting here, and that should come here. Let me run this. See? So this is how you can start developing your programming skills for any other values. Right. Now we'll also see. So now I'll go here, I'll do one more calculation. Equals this value, or some random calculation will do this value divided by 12. I'm getting some decimal number. This is just a random calculation. Now if you want to do this, this is a decimal number. And I'm working on something which is divided by this decimal number. I should get a value also as decimal number. Now if you use integer, so what will happen is integer, long or byte is a whole number. That is for these kind of numbers without decimals. Now if I have a decimal number, then I should use something called as double. Now when I don't use double and take integer, this will become 0 or this will become 1 depending on the value. So here you can see this is 0, so this will be 0. Here it is 0. So suppose if it is like 1.694 or something, then that will be 1. So it will take only this part, whole number part. Now let me go back. I'll copy the same program and I'll paste it here. Now let's see how this double works. Now let me take this value into one variable, that is F5. First I'll show you how to take this as integer and what is the problem if you take it as integer, byte or long, and then I'll change that to double and I'll show you. Say dim, we'll say sales percent, just some variable name as integer. Now I'm taking this as integer and we'll assign that value, that is F5 WKS data type dot range of f dot value. Now I've taken this as integer value. Now let me go here. This value, that is h5, is nothing but f5 divided by 12. Let's say wcase data type dot range of this one, h5 dot value equals, say, sales percentage divided by 12. So I've taken this as integer here. Now let me run this and see what will happen. See, I'm getting this 0 because this will be considered as 0. Now let me run this. See, we can use this F8 for debugging. See, I'll go here, and if I check this value, see, move your cursor here, see, it says 0, wherein this is 0.3046. So if I take this as integer, so what will happen is only the whole number part, only that it will take. So how to rectify this? So instead of integer, I'll make it as double. Now let's see what will happen. Again, I'll say F8 and check this. See, now it says 0.3046. If you go and check this, see here. So whenever you come across any values that is a decimal, then please go and take this double. Fine, let me run this. Now let's go and see what will be the result. See, now I'm getting the result in decimal numbers. Let me change this to k, and then I'll say some number. Now if I run this, all these values should change. Let's run this. See, like this. Now what I'm doing is, every time I'm actually running the program here, say F5. So instead what I can do, I can go here and say insert, take the shapes, take one button here. You can name that, say, calculate. You can format it, go to format and format this. So right click, assign macro. Let's say assign macro. I can assign the macro which we have written here. Say, I can also copy this. Suppose if you think that there are many programs here and it is difficult to choose the program, I can just copy this and I can paste it here. I'll say okay. Now you change any values. And here I'll change this to India. Now if I click on this, that program will run which you have assigned here. See? So all these values will get changed. So like this, you can take the program and you can assign to one button and then you can do the calculation here. So instead of running here, going to this VBA editor and keep pressing F5, I can go here and I can use this assign macro to a button and then I can run the program. So this is how we should actually run the program. But before that, what you should do is you should make sure that the program what I've written is perfect. Otherwise, if you go here, say for example, I'll go here, I will just take this and make it as byte. That means I'm just giving the data type which cannot take this value. Now if I run this, see, it will throw error. So make sure that the program what you're writing is proper and then only you have to assign the macro here. So this is some examples of data type. Now I'll tell you what are the problems you will be facing and what are the things you should actually take care while using these data types. Let's take this example only. I'll just copy this and I'll paste it here. Okay. I'll just say correct. We have declared some variables here like this. Some people what they do, they'll assign the variables like this. Comma. Just telling you how the declaration will happen. Say they'll declare variables like this. Say bin num1, num2, total as long. If you go here and check, see, it says num1 as long, num2 as long, total as long. But some people, they declare the variables like this. When the variables are declared like this, people will think that is num1, num2 total are long, but it is not like that. This num1 and num2 is considered as variant. Variant means they don't have any data type, so the system or say the computer or while running the program, these variables are assigned as variant. When I say variant, what will happen is here I can store any kind of data. So here it is not that it should be long or integer or whatever. It can be of data type, object data type also. So in that case, what will happen? Say for example, I'm storing only 100 here, and if I'm not giving any data type, a very bigger space will be assigned by the system so that you can store any values. If I'm not specifically saying that it should be say byte or long or integer or whatever the specific data type. So in this case, the memory will be cannot be utilized properly because a bigger space is assigned for that. So if you are actually trying to give the variables in the same line, so you have to go and say like this. Like this. But this is very confusing. So the good practice is go and use that in single line like this. So don't worry, nothing will happen. So don't think that my code will become very big or say the file size will become very big. Nothing will happen. This is the best practice so that you can go and see how many variables have assigned. Otherwise, declared. Otherwise, what will happen if you are giving everything in one line? It will become like a paragraph, and it will become difficult to find where is my variable which I've declared. So have the practice of giving something like this. Some people what they do. So one more thing what mistake people will do is they'll declare like this. Like this. Again, this num1 and num2 is declared as variant. Let me remove this option explicit. Let me come down. See here, this is considered as variant. Now, if I run this, still the program runs. There is no problem. And one more mistake what people will do, let's say I'll remove these two. Now let me run the program. See, it's still running. Now I have not declared num1 and num2. See here, num1, num2. But still I'm using these variables. So in this case also, this num1 and num2 is considered as variant. Again, I'll tell you, variant means the system will assign the memory space in a bigger way. That is, it will give me some bigger space so that I can store any kind of data type in this. And if you do that, what will happen? Unnecessarily, the memory is wasted. So for that, we have to compulsorily declare the variables. If the program is very small, see, I can go and I can check, say, num1, num2, num3, they are not there, I can go and declare. What if the program is very big and I've already written so much of codes, and now I don't know where all I've declared, which all variables are declared? That will become very difficult. So for that reason, whenever you're writing the program, make the habit of declaring the variables as and when you find that where I have to declare. Say for example, now I'm writing the program, num1 I need to declare, go and declare it immediately. You cannot declare all the variables before starting the program only, because as and when you keep writing the program, wherever you feel that you need to add the variables, you can go and add. See, here I did the program. Now I wanted this sales percentage, so I added here. So like that, whenever you find there is some requirement for adding this declaring these variables, go and keep adding, no problem. And make sure that you declare your variables on top of this program. That is, after this program name, immediately all the variables should be declared here. Some people have the habit of doing like this. Say, copy this. This way also program runs, but don't have this habit. So what will happen is, technically, while running the program, all the variables, whatever you have declared for that, the space is, allocated in the beginning only. Then the program starts. In this case, what will happen is, it will give the space for these two variables. and then it will come here, it will find num1 which is not declared, again it will take it as variant, and again it is going to memory, and again it is allocating some space, again it will come to num2, again it will go to memory and allocate some space, and slowly when it comes here, again there is one more variable declared, again it has to go to memory and declare the space. So for this process what will happen is, it will be keep going to memory, create some space, again come back, do the calculation, so it will take a lot of time, so unnecessarily time is wasted. Instead, if I declare everything in the beginning, so once it will go to memory, create all the spaces, and again it will come back and do the calculation. Now I was talking about, let's take out this, I'll put it here. Now I was talking about this num1 and num2. I told all the variables has to be declared. In this case, these two are not declared. So how will I find this? So for this, what we have to do is, I'll go on top and I'll put this option explicit. So what is this explicit? Explicit means external. Let's come back to the program. Now if you see this num1 and num2, these are actually declared as variant, that is internally, implicitly by the system, that is by program, by the code. Now when I say explicit, that means the program forces us to declare the variable. If it is not, it will go and check once. If it is not declared, it will say whichever variables are not declared. Now let me run this program after giving this option explicit. Let me run this. See, variable not defined. Previously, I removed that option explicit and start running it. So what happened? It was just trying to run the program because we have not put any force saying that it has to be declared. So whenever you feel that I don't know where all my variables are declared and I forgot to declare this variable, make sure that you'll put this option explicit. So what it will do is it will force the programmer, or say the program, to have all the variables declared. So it's a good practice to have this. Some people actually remove this so that they can easily go and keep typing whatever they want and they'll execute the program. But as a good programmer, make sure that this option explicit is available, so that whenever I'm writing a program, even if I forgot to declare some variable, it will remind. Let me go and insert one module. Automatically, I'm getting this option explicit. But sometimes, for some people, when they go here and say insert and say module, they'll not get this option explicit. The reason is, there is one option which has to be enabled so that it will come automatically. This option explicit will come automatically. So where is that? I'll go to this tools, options. Here we come to this editor. We have something called as require variable declaration. So what this require variable declaration will do is, it will automatically give this option explicit if it is enabled. Let me remove this and say okay. Now let me try to insert a module. I'll not get this. So if you want to get this, again I'll go to this tools, options, and I'll say require variable declaration. I'll say okay. Now if I go and if I say insert, see, I'll get this. But for this, which I had disabled and then inserted the module, here I'll not get this, because when I was inserting this module, the option was not enabled. Now, whatever modules I'm inserting, so I'll be getting this option explicit, see. But if I disable that, again it will go. So understand, if this is enabled now, I'll not get the option explicit for the module which I've inserted while it is disabled. The option is disabled. Right? Okay. So this option explicit is nothing but it will force the user, or say the programmer, to declare the variable. Otherwise, you'll end up with giving this as variance. So this program, what we have written today, so this is how the program should be here afterward. To recap, we just understood what is data, what is data type and variable. Data is nothing but the information or the values. Data type is all these values which are classified, and the classification will happen based on text, numbers, date, then true or false, or objects. So when I say numbers, then again I have this byte, integer, long, or say double. When I say byte, I can store the values up to 255, integer up to 32,767, and then long, it can go beyond that. Anything beyond 32,767. Next, for text, we use string. Then for decimals, we use double. And we saw what is the right way of declaring the variables. And we understood what is option explicit. And we also saw how to use this concatenating and did some calculations. So this is what we have for today's topic. Please practice this, understand this, and then practice. 100% it will be easy. Suppose if you are still getting confused, no worries. I'll be sending you this video. So try to understand, and also I'll be giving you these examples. These examples here. Okay. So everything is given. Say module by module, I've given the same thing with more examples so that you guys can learn it more easily.